It pains me when I walk around and I witness other people in life, and it's like they're just on a treadmill and they're a zombie and they're miserable. And part of that is because we're chasing the wrong things and we're defining wealth in the wrong way. We will die with nothing except for the fingerprint that we have individually put on the world and life. So press hard. If you need to choose between happy and sad, choose happy.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Fearful Giants, the podcast that's getting loud about something most leaders never talk about out loud, their fear. I'm Clay Stelzer, executive coach and founder of 1560, the executive coaching company. And every week I sit down with a founder, a CEO, or an executive leader to talk about the stuff they're not typically posting about or talking about on LinkedIn. And today we have Brian Floriani, and he's the founder of Bernie's Book Bank, which is a literacy nonprofit that has helped get millions of books into the hands and homes of children who need them most. Brian is also the founder of Buku Branded, which is a social enterprise using business as a vehicle to fund literacy work. So Brian does a lot of things. He's a builder, he's an entrepreneur, he's an advocate for childhood literacy. And if you check out Brian on LinkedIn or talk with him anywhere or see any of what he's doing out in the world, he always says literacy is my jam, which I just love. I love how clear he is about what he's up to in his life. And welcome, Brian. I'm so excited to have you on the show.
Thank you, Clay. I've been looking forward to it.
Yeah, this is going to be a good one. There are a few things I want to chat about. I'm just going to give you here's my take on what we talk about. You have quite the story. You got to what you do not by accident. You had some grief in your life that I believe led you to purpose and mission, and I want to talk about that. I also want to talk about legacy because I think legacy is attached to all of that. And specifically, I also want to talk about the dark side of legacy that I see in lots of leaders. Then purpose and identity. We'll talk about, just a real casual, just a light conversation here on a Friday morning.
Yeah.
You ready to jump in?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right.
Let's do it.
So you talk about this pretty openly. And yeah, in 2005, you had a pretty tragic event. Your dad and your grandmother passed away on the same day.
Yep. Yeah, they, and we all have different relationships with our grandmother. Mine was very close. I used to spend the summers with my grandmother. So both of these people, and that day was pretty significant because they were both very important people in my life, and two people obviously I was very close to.
Yeah, I can't imagine it's hard enough having one person that you're close to leave your life, and having two on the same day is, can't imagine that.
Yeah.
And my sense is, and what I'd love to talk about today is you did something with that grief. So
Yep.
Bernie's Book Bank, that name Bernie isn't a made up name. That was your dad's nickname, I believe. It was Dr. Bernard Bernie Floriani. Is that correct?
Correct. He went by Bernie.
Yeah. He went by Bernie. Yeah.
He went by Bernie. He was Big Bernie in our family. Big Bernie because
Big Bernie.
my brother was Little Bernie.
Your brother was Little Bernie. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, I want to talk about this event and how it, led you on the path that you've been down. But before we do that, I'm just real curious, what changed in your life having had such a traumatic day? Like, how did that change you?
Yeah, frankly, I think it changed me for the better. Anytime that sort of thing happens, it rattles you a bit, and I guess another way to put it, it tenderizes you. I think you become a little more vulnerable. Your senses are heightened. Your awareness of your own mortality increases. But the way I look at that, when you lose somebody that's really important to you, there's a hole in your heart, and it's never going away. And you could try to ignore it, and that's not a very good exercise. You could fill it full of a bunch of junk, and that's typically not going to end well. Or you could plant a seed in that hole and nurture it and make something really good come out of that hole. And that's what Bernie's Book Bank was and is for me. And thankfully it's become something that's transcended that loss. But I think it's about all how you look at things, and and I try to look at things as opportunities.
Yeah, I love that. So I want to talk about you planting that seed and how it has grown. But just real quick, some people may not be familiar with Bernie's. So can you just share just a little bit about what the mission is? I think that context will help people, help the listeners.
Yeah, would love to. So I don't think it can be argued that literacy and reading is the most important skill that any of us will ever have. We all literally read our way to a better life, no matter where we start. It just so happens that research has proven that quality book ownership from birth is critical to reading readiness and reading proficiency by third grade. Yet 61% of low income households in America have this many books in them, which is zero. And though we can't solve all of the challenges in the literacy equation, where you're born to, educational level, your parents, where you're born, in my mind, book ownership should never be a reason in America why we don't have reading ready children or reading proficient children. And so it's a solvable problem. In my view, we should be doing everything we possibly can to take all the variables that we can out of the equation. You shrink the equation. When you shrink the equation, you're much more likely to get out the back end what we like. And so I look at this in two ways. One, emotionally, in a country like America that believes in a pursuit of happiness, equality, those types of things, that every child should have an opportunity to read their way to a better life. Um, the outcomes we cannot control, but they should be provided the opportunity. Beyond that, practically, if you think about homelessness, poverty, and hunger, those are symptoms of something else. And if you were to dig down into the stories of all these people that struggle with these issues, you're going to find as a common denominator lack of literacy, lack of education somewhere in those stories. And so, we have a literacy crisis in America. There's 32 million Americans that cannot read, and we're all suffering as a part of it. My little Bernie, as we referenced earlier, passed away 5 years ago, and he passed away of ALS. And it pains me to think that the cure for ALS is living dormant on the south side of Chicago, the north side of Milwaukee, the east side of Pittsburgh. I really believe that if we provide these opportunities and we nurture learning at an equitable level for all people, we all win,
Yeah.
because we are not winning the way we might like to right now.
Yeah. It's funny, not funny. I mean, it just seems like it's just so obvious. Like, I'm sure you share what you just shared all the time, and everyone's like, yeah, that makes sense. That's an obvious problem we have that has obvious symptoms. There's more for us
Yes.
to do in that regard. And you've been doing that for a really long time. I'm curious, you lost your dad, and then you said you planted a seed in the hole that was left. What's the connection between your dad's passing and your passion around literacy? How did those two
Yeah.
things
Well,
come together?
yeah. So I think I should probably finish the Bernie's book bank thing. I'll come back to that. But, so what we have developed is a metropolitan based children's book bank model that is designed to serve every under-resourced child in every metro area from birth through sixth grade with 8 quality books a year. So over that period of time, building them an in-home library of 96 books. We are now serving 315,000 children in Greater Chicago. Launched in Milwaukee, we'll be serving 70,000 children by the end of the year. Launched in the Suncoast of Florida, which will be North Tampa down to Naples. Things going very well down there. But we are motivated, and we really have set out to build an American institution and put a Bernie's Book Bank in every major city in the country. And our next goal is to be serving 20 million children annually by 2045. So we've got some work to do, but we've recently published a positive response to a randomized control trial that we conducted in the Milwaukee Public Schools to measure the efficacy of our program. So we're really in the golden age of Bernie's Book Bank, and it's a very exciting time. So to get back to your question, can you repeat that question for me?
Yeah, sure. And thank you for filling in the blanks. I was just so excited to
Yeah,
jump right in. I forgot to
yeah.
ask you, well, what do you do that's solving the problem? So thank you for filling it in. Yeah, so I'm curious to connect the dots. So your dad passed away. You mentioned there was a hole that was left. That happens when people pass away. And you planted a seed in that hole that became Bernie's Book Bank. I'm curious, what is it about your dad's passing that connected you with the passion to charge at this important topic, literacy?
Yeah, so he passes away, my grandmother passed away. I was, I guess, fortunately and unfortunately enough, asked to eulogize them both. I gave those eulogies about an hour apart, separate ceremonies. We took them both to the cemetery, and they are buried about 100 yards apart. Obviously, it was a pretty dramatic day, very unique. Um, and then the dust settles, and everybody goes home, and life goes on. And through that experience and reflecting on their eulogies, but also the eulogies of other people, what you realize if you really pay attention is that eulogies are not about success at all. They're about significance. And there's a big difference between the two. Success is about your accomplishments, and significance is about the accomplishments of other people. And so from there, I just asked myself three questions. If I were to die today, would anybody have anything to say about me? Would it be true? And what I mean by that is we've all been to a funeral where they start talking about the deceased and you're like, man, I don't remember them like that. All of a sudden you die and you're a saint. And then the third was, would it matter? Um, and no matter how I spun the answers to those questions, I did not like the answers to those questions. From there was a very deep spiritual dive. And out of that, I just wanted to be a servant. And the original iteration of that was to be an elementary school teacher in an under resourced community. So I left the golf business and took a reading paraprofessional job in a northern suburb of Chicago, an under-resourced community. And boy, did I learn a lot of things that I didn't really want to learn, but I'm glad I did. When you enter into the school system as an adult, you have a much different perspective of when you were a student. I already knew it was hard to teach someone anything, an adult, but then teaching a child something is harder. Teaching children at scale, even harder. And then teaching children at scale where you're kind of playing with one arm and leg time behind your back and all the challenges that come with an under-resourced community is almost literally impossible.
Yeah.
Um, but that was the downside. The upside was these children I was working with, they were so eager to be learners. They were so eager to be readers. They were motivated to go home and read at night. We were expecting them to go home and read. We give them a reading log to log their reading, but we knew there were no books in the house. We knew that nobody was taken to the library. It doesn't matter why. We knew that in the school where I was working, we had a library, but you could check books out from the library, but you couldn't take them home. And so what I saw every day were teachers lined up at a copying machine, copying off pages of a book, stapling it together and giving it to children and expecting them to love reading. And, you know, I'm a recovering golf professional with an entomology degree, which means I don't know much about anything, but it doesn't take a genius to know that that just doesn't work. And if you think about it anecdotally, that's not how it was done for me. That's not how I was going to do it for my children. And the research proves it. So there was that experience, but also I was still freshly reflecting on my father's life. And
Yeah.
I'm very proud of this. His dad came on a boat from Italy. His mom came on a boat from Poland. They ended up outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which meant my grandfather was a coal miner for 51 years. And my dad didn't have running water until he went to college. And there was a day in the school where I realized these two things collided. My experience in the school and my dad's life, they collide. And what I realized is, oh my goodness, these children, they're just little Bernies. They deserve a fair shot. And if it wouldn't have been for my dad reading his way to a better life, my life would be very different. And in one generation, he went on to get his doctorate, put three of us through school. And in one generation, my life is very different from his. And that is what is possible and should be made available to all children in this country.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing your story. The reason why I wanted you on here is because you're an inspiration. You've dedicated your life, I think it's fair to say, towards helping little Bernies learn to read. You see the challenge and the downside of the inherent challenges that we're facing as a society around illiteracy, and you dedicated your whole life. Now, there's a lot of people that acknowledge that literacy is a problem. There's a lot of people that acknowledge all of the problems that are out there are problems, yet they don't dedicate their lives to those things. There was some spark that you said, you want to know, I'm dedicating my life to this. I think that's quite unique. I think part of that is what you said. I think you, having your dad and grandmother pass away, this idea of who am I going to be when I'm gone? What legacy will I have led? That was a little bit of a fire or a motivator for you, is what I'm understanding. But what was it? It just feels like it's just so uncommon that I see someone do a complete U-turn to dedicate their whole life to giving back to the world around them. I think it's fascinating. I think it's admirable. I think it's amazing, and I think it's very uncommon.
Well, I some of it I can explain, some of it I can't. Um, well, I guess I'll put it this way, and I didn't make this up, someone else did, and I can't remember who it was. Might have been Mark Twain. Anyway, he came up with every great saying. Anyway, there's two really important days in your life: the day you're born and the day you realize why you were born. And I think I just latched onto this, and this is why I was put here. But there's another motivation too, and that is, especially today, I'll speak for myself, but I think there are a lot of people would join me. On one hand, I'm really proud of my country, and I believe in my team and my country. That's the team I'm a part of. But on the other hand, we got a lot of work to do. And there's some ideals that we set forth in the founding of our country that I actually want to see come true. And if you think about the pursuit of happiness that we're guaranteed in this country, it's really predicated on two things: who you know and what you know. And if you grow up in an under resourced community, you don't know who you need to know. So your one ticket is what you know, and that's education. That's built on the backs of being literate. And I want people, when they look back on our generation, there's a deep, dark, bold line of transformation that we made huge steps forward to bring the pursuit of happiness more accessible to everyone. And part of what I latch onto and where I don't get too discouraged about America is that it's a journey. You know, we've been on a pursuit for a long time and we're pursuing perfection. We'll probably never reach it, but by doing so, we will get to greatness. And we're all in this together and things take time. But when it comes to opportunity, we call ourselves the land of opportunity, which we are, but we could be providing so much more opportunity. And it's not just what's right, it's what's good for all of us.
I would venture to say that the majority of Americans would love to have a calling that is so clear to you. They would love for someone to say, or for them just to wake up one day and say, like, this is the thing that is going to get me out of bed and help me feel so good about my life. You know, it's a real gift that you have that clarity. And I get really
There's no doubt.
curious about, yeah, I get pretty curious about where that comes from. I have a lot of thoughts around, I mean, for me in my own journey, I nothing fuels my purpose more than helping others in a way that I've needed to be helped in my life.
Hmm.
So my coaching is
Hmm.
quite personal to me. It's
Hmm.
it's rooted in my past.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so there's lots of things I could do in the world that would make a real impact, I imagine. But there's something about helping others in a way that I was helped to transform my life. It's especially meaningful. And I just imagine there is some personal connection between you and literacy. I don't know what that is, and I could be wrong. But I'm curious, by creating all of the work you're doing, is it in some way, how is it helping you? Or how is it a reflection of how you needed to be helped as a young person?
Oh man, that's an easy one.
Oh, good.
Uh, if there's one thing that I've learned in 51 years, there's only one way to serve yourself, and that's to serve other people. One thing at the book bank that we're really proud of is that, you know, in our processing centers, we have tens of thousands of volunteers come in to volunteer every year. We take all ages and abilities. We're the only organization in Chicagoland that would take a child under the age of 5 to volunteer, and we'll do that in every market that we go into.
Cool.
Um, we do 6,000 volunteer hours a month there. More than half are given by people under the age of 18, which actually leads us to believe we're serving two populations, not one. We're providing in-home libraries for the children we serve, but we're providing a safe place for young people to make service a habit from a very young age, and through that build lifelong perspective. And that's where the rubber meets the road,
Yep.
because I've already felt sorry for myself twice today, and I live a very blessed life, and I'm very proximate to a lot of people that have a lot less. And what we feel is, if you think about our mental health issues in our country, they're very real. But I think one big contributing factor is that, who do we think about all day long? Me. And the more you think about others, the more proximate you get to others, the more perspective you have. And when your perspective changes, you're able to deal with things differently. You become a better husband, a father, a sister, a brother, a citizen, a neighbor,
Yeah.
and that changes everything as well.
Yeah.
And so I think you're right. I am very blessed to know exactly why I'm here and do what I love to do. And many, many thousands of people have helped make that happen, which is a blessing, but it's an opportunity and it's a big responsibility as well. And so I think that we really have to take a step back and one look at this life and how precious it is and accept that for what it is and then act in and show up in life in a different way. And that is that I don't know when my last day will be, but I know it's coming. And um, because of that, I'm going to love hard and laugh hard and cry hard and work hard. And I'm going to do everything hard so that when that day comes, I will be tired, but I will know that I've left it all out on the field and I will have made a lot of mistakes, but I put it all out there.
Yeah. So, yeah, I feel like I'm just going to be hammering you with questions here because, man, if I had a magic wand and could replicate this experience you're having and give everyone the recipe,
Ain't for
this
sure.
would be a better world. We'd have a better world to live in here. And so my thought is this. So again, it's obvious that literacy is a challenge worth dedicating a life to. But you mentioned your brother died of ALS. There's lots of other, you know, equally, I don't know if we want to compare all the challenges we have in the world, but there's plenty of other worthy causes to dedicate your life to. But there was something about literacy that you
Yeah, it's a
said, no, this,
multiplier. It's a multiplier. It's transgenerational. It will literally change the future of generations. I don't care what's going on from a technology perspective into the future. If it's on a tablet, if it's on a book, if it's in a book, if it's on a phone, if it's
yeah,
we will have to read. It's the way that we gather information. And when we gather information, we're ever able to leverage it, we become more valuable. As we become more valuable from a productivity perspective, we become more employable. But I think we need to go back to one thing, and that's really how you define part of our issue. Well, two things. One, I pray for that too, that other people can find their why, but they need to be seeking. They can't let life continue to happen to them. They need to create life. And that's at all times. When you go to the Starbucks line, when you go to an athletic event for your children, when you're passing someone on the street, create life and create energy. Don't let that life happen to you. That is not how it was intended to be. And it pains me when I just walk around and I witness other people in life and it's like they're just on a treadmill and they're a zombie and they're miserable. And part of that is because we're chasing the wrong things and we're defining wealth in the wrong way. Um and money, look, money matters. But throughout life and to the end, everything will be taken from us. Everything. Our health, your good looks, our home, our children, our relationships. We will die with nothing except for the fingerprint that we have individually put on the world and life. So press hard. Press
mm,
hard.
I love that.
Make an
Press
impression.
hard, make an impression. I want to talk about this fingerprint. We're going to spend the second half of our conversation around that. But I do want to, before we move on, you were left with the hole when your dad passed and your grandmother, and you planted a seed chasing after, this, I don't know what we call it, but this inherent challenge of illiteracy in our country. Has it helped you grieve? Has your mission helped you deal with that hole?
I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, here's the beauty of Bernie's book bank. I hear and read the word Bernie thousands of times a day.
Yeah, yeah.
And the added benefit of that is that it's not just my dad's name, it's my brother's name too. And thank God his name was Bernie because Tom's book bank just wouldn't have the same ring. Um, but Yeah, I mean, look, I miss him every day, every day. I mean, there's some days I want, something great happens and I want to pick up the phone and I want to, and then you're like, oh, well. But I talk to him, I hear him every day,
Yeah,
every day.
yeah,
And look, no suffering, no joy, man. And life is tough. But I thank my parents for making myself and my older brother and my younger sister, we're tough. We're tough. And it's just the way it is. And so you can just let it paralyze you. Um, or you can just keep showing up and keep chopping wood. I mean, the best thing my dad ever did is every time we went back to grandma's house, he was a smoker, unfortunately, and we would end up outside. And it could have been I was 3, 7, 12, 17. Every time we ended up where the hole was in the ground, where the outhouse was. And it taught me two very important things. This is where you come from. Don't ever forget it. And if you are willing to show up every day and bust your ass, you can't just get anything you want. That's not realistic. You can't achieve anything. I think that's a farce. But you can achieve most things. But it won't happen without hard work. It just won't. And who you gonna be when the chips are down? Are you gonna be there with the chips, or are you gonna rise up above it and do something? And I credit that to my parents.
yeah. So you've put in a lot of hard work. And what does it mean to you to carry your dad's name on top of all your hard work? Your dad's name is the public facing name of your hard work. What does that mean to you?
Everything. Um, we're all standing on the shoulders of other people. And hopefully then we then let others stand on our shoulders. And he man, talk about tough. I mean, this guy came from nothing. He used to hitchhike as a 7-year-old to practice. And I just want to be half of him. I just want to be half of him and half of my grandfather. I mean, could you imagine? So back then when they were coal mining, this is the early 1900s, you didn't get paid for now this is a whole nother topic we can talk about another day. You didn't get paid for showing up. You got paid for what you produced and what you brought out of that mine. And my grandfather did that for 51 years in order to give my father an opportunity. And my father gave me an opportunity, and I'm not going to squander it. And I want to give my children an opportunity. And that's how this works.
Yeah. So you've affected thousands and thousands of lives. Is it millions of books? It's millions of books, isn't it, at this point? No,
At
you
this
said
point, it's
20.
been 31 million books.
Yeah. Okay. If your dad were sitting here with us, what do you think he'd be most proud of?
I mean, I'm hesitating because it would be a lot. And thankfully, I can hear him saying, I'm proud of you because he told me that a lot. He told me he loved me a lot. He told me he was proud of me. And it wasn't just when I achieved things, it was when I didn't. And I think it would just be like, dude, you pick something worthy, you put your stake in the ground and you showed up and you chopped the wood every day. I feel like our name means something, and it means hard work, and it means sacrifice. And as my uncle John says, who's my dad's younger brother, Floriani's don't quit, and we don't quit.
So, with all that hard work, if you're not careful, I imagine you can place a tremendous amount of pressure and stress upon yourself.
Mhm.
So, I want to talk about that. I mean, here you are, millions of books into the hands of thousands of kids, and there's thousands and thousands and thousands of more children that need millions and millions of more books. I imagine when you go to bed every night, seeing what you've accomplished, but then also realizing how much more there is, a lot of people could create a lot of pressure for themselves. How does pressure show up for you as you're out there chopping wood?
Mhm. Well, pressure's a privilege. Um, and, and if you're gonna do anything in life that's worthy, you're gonna feel the pressure. Diamonds start as coal, and when you apply pressure and heat to coal, they become diamonds. Now, I don't want it to come off as like I don't feel it. I feel it. But again,
Yeah.
it's everything. Life is but a series of choices. And when you feel the pressure, you can do one of two things. You can crumble, or you can like, yeah, man, give me the ball. I want the ball. I want that responsibility. I deal with it through my faith. You know, I have an eternal perspective. There's a lot of prayer. I have incredible children. I have incredible wife. I have an incredible parenting partner and the mother of my children. I have amazing friends. I have incredible mentors. I think part of dealing with the pressure is being vulnerable and being authentic. And that's letting people know how you're feeling the pressure, when you're hurting, and sharing it with people that can relate and be there and continue to guide you. It's all about people and who you surround yourself with. And I just want to stop right here. I get way too much credit for Bernie's book bank. There are tens of thousands of people involved at a volunteer level, a donor level, a team member level. We've had unbelievable team members over the years. We have an unbelievable team now. I'm just a knucklehead that that I guess lit the flame. And it's all about people. And when you surround yourself with great people, you can do great things. And nothing worth doing is easy. So you're going to feel the pressure. And that's also when you need to surround yourself with great people who have been there before and who can guide you through it. It's all about the people that I have around me and I think my faith and a lot of prayer. But pressure's a privilege, dude. I mean, and look, I'm lucky to
Yeah.
have pressure. Some people never experience pressure.
Well, part of the reason why, so yes, pressure is a privilege. And I wouldn't call it a responsibility of a leader to share their pressure, but I also think it's a gift for everyone listening that's never going to, well, they may not chase literacy, but they're going to chase whatever it is that they're chasing. Would you be willing to share your pressure? I think it's an inspiration for people to see, here's the fucking guy that gets out there and chops wood every day because he gives a shit. And that comes with pressure. And it also comes with navigating that pressure in a really healthy way, like you just talked about. But what is that pressure for you? That's the privilege and that's part of the journey. I imagine there would be a ton of pressure doing what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, I think it starts with the mission and the why. And, this is a must. We must change this. This is, and I feel that somebody's got to do it and somebody's got to step up and somebody's got to build something that can help change things at scale.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And, when you start something on your credit card in your garage with 3 jobs in a time, December 2009, not the best time in history to start a nonprofit. You're an expecting father. There's a lot of pressure. But it's kind of like I'm a big proponent of set bold goals and then tell everybody and their mother what your big bad goals are. And there's 2 reasons for that. One, people might just want to help you. But secondly, and more importantly, they're going to want to hold you accountable. And that's the difference between a wish and a want. When you wish something, you're not cool with people holding you accountable. When you really, really, really want something, you're okay with somebody holding you accountable because once you put it out there and you put it out there as much as you possibly can, you almost don't have an option but to accomplish your goal. And as time has gone on and we've grown and become more successful and what have you, on one hand, there's a little less pressure because it's possible. But on the other hand, because it's possible, and we serve about 500,000 children right now, we want to be serving 20 million children by 2045. Because it's possible, there's more pressure because
Yeah, right.
it's a moral obligation. We have a moral obligation to scale this and to serve as many children as we possibly can. Otherwise, it says something about how we feel about our mission. So, um, I just, nothing worth doing is easy, as I've said, and that's just going to come with pressure. And you learn how to deal with pressure by being in pressure situations.
In my own experience, I know that chasing after a mission like this can be done from a place of fear or love. Both are great motivators. And the experience can be quite different. And I don't necessarily, I'm not saying one is better or worse than the others, but it's just a very different experience. But when you talk about, we're at 500,000 now, we can get to 20 million young people. and it has become a moral obligation. And yeah, well, what's the question I want to ask about that?
Well, as you think about that, look, dude, we went to the moon and back. We created something like this, which is good and bad. If this is possible, if we can go to the moon and back is possible, I think putting books into every child's hands in America is completely possible.
Oh, I do
So
too.
way harder things have been done. But guess what? No reading, no going to the moon. No reading, no innovation like this.
Yeah. The thing that part of your gift, well, there's so many gifts, but again, one of the reasons I wanted you on the show was to help people talk about how you navigate when you experience the pressure that can so easily come by having such a big goal. And I know you've talked about your support system around that, but when we feel an obligation, a moral obligation, for a lot of people that can weigh you down, even if you really, really care about the 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 mission. How do you handle that obligation? How do you handle that pressure?
Well, I think part of that is realizing that it's an incredible opportunity. I mean, how many people in their lifetime get an opportunity to build an American institution? Um, and we're far from it. And we don't want to build an American institution and put it on the back of our jerseys. We want to build one because America needs an institution like Bernie's Book Bank. And it's a back to perspective, Clay. Like you could see it as
Everything
a
is.
burden, right? Or you could see it as a huge opportunity. And this is a huge opportunity. And every day that goes by and we keep making little improvements and getting better every day, the opportunity becomes greater and greater and greater. And you step closer and closer to actually accomplishing your mission. And if you just can keep showing up and keep putting one step in front of the other up the staircase without having to see the entire staircase, that's what it's all about. And you every once in a while you look up and you look back and you go, "Oh my goodness, like we're getting there." Like, and then you don't do that for too much longer. You put your head back down and you keep walking. Yeah, I don't know if I'm answering your questions. Because part of this I can't explain. I part of it I cannot explain the the motivation. I just love it. I loved it.
Yeah, well, you're onto something, really worthwhile if you love it and you can't even explain why. I mean, I kind of geek out on this human experiment we're all in, and I try to make sense of the unexplainable, which is really at the heart of all my questions.
Yep.
Because again, I just admire your journey, and if others could learn from your journey, that we're all going to be better off for it. We did touch a little bit on legacy, and when your dad passed, your grandmother passed, you were in this thought of, what am I going to leave behind? It doesn't matter how much money I have. It doesn't matter the things I have. What's the thumbprint I'm going to be leaving here? And I'm kind of curious, is there enough? Like, what sort of impact do you need to make to feel like, yeah, I've contributed in a really meaningful way? Is there some enough number or some impact or outcome that you have in mind?
Yes. Solving this one problem once and for all. And I might not be around to see it fully through. I struggle with that. So it's a good question because my dad died at 58, my brother died at 51. I've been grinding at this for a pretty long time. But recently I think my mindset's a little different than it was 10 or 15 years ago. Yeah, I think that one of my gifts is being able to deal with uncertainty. I like I like starting things and helping watch them grow, but I also realize that I'm limited in my abilities. And there's a few things, a couple of things maybe that I'm really good at, and there's a lot of things I'm not really good at. And through all that and put all that into a pot, um, I don't see myself necessarily doing this work. I'll be involved and be valuable, but I don't see me doing this until the day I die. I hope that within 5, 8, 10 years that, I can downshift a bit, spend more time with my family and friends, and frankly, out in open spaces. As my wife and I say, kind of our tagline, river, meadow, phone attached to the wall. And you've referenced legacy a few times, and I think my view of the significant over success has evolved over time too, because inherently there's pride and significance. And what I really want to be, what I really want my eulogy to read is for the glory of God. And that is that I lived a life that brought glory to him or her, however you look at that. Um, because I think that's at the crux of all of this. And that is, we all think we're here for us. When you really zoom out, and every time we go out into space and we see pictures of the earth
Uh-huh.
and how small it really is,
Yeah.
it changes I know it changes my perspective in a very big way, and our concept of time, and the fact that we're all just a bunch of millions, trillions of cells put together that happen to work together, and that we can actually have a conversation where you and I are kin, and we cannot grab our hands around that. Our souls are connected, even though we don't even know each other that well. We have a deep connection. And so when you think about that, it's mind blowing, but it's also liberating, because I believe when you have an eternal perspective, when things get real good, you know who you're here for and you know who takes the credit. When things are bad, this is all temporary. This is all temporary. And the name of your podcast is, in the premise of your podcast, is really about fear. And when you have an eternal perspective, fear does no longer is paralyzing, it's motivating. Because fear, I think, we were made to feel fear.
Yes, we were.
That is natural. If we didn't have any fear, that would be a problem.
Hmm.
It's what you do with the fear that matters. I mean, I think my brother said to me once, we're motivated by one of two things: hope of gain or fear of loss. We were a very athletic family, played a lot of sports. And what I've realized over life is, like, I don't really enjoy winning as much as I hate losing. And I fear loss.
Yeah.
Um, and I think once you understand that fear is just a part of life, and you can sit in it a little bit and not fear, but that you accept it. And then from there, once you accept it, you decide what you're going to do with it.
Yeah.
Um,
So
because I've got children. Do you have children?
I do. I have a 17-year-old daughter.
Talk about fear. I mean,
Yeah.
when you have children, I mean, if you're not fearing something, something's wrong.
Yeah.
Right?
Everyone. So, right. The human experience is fear. If we didn't have fear as part of our biology, we would not have lasted as a species. It's helped us stay alive. It's who we are, and it's what you do with it. You're right. That's the premise of this podcast. And so I always get curious about, okay, so what's a healthy way to be with our fear? That's what I talk a lot about. It's what I think is really helpful for most people. And I think you're shining, well, in part, you're shining a light. Well, you're shining a light on a couple things. One in which is recognizing that there is something much greater beyond us and trusting in that. You didn't say the word trust, but sensing that there is a trust that I am not the center of the universe, that there is something much greater than me and my problems that I'm hyper focused on in any particular moment. And I think that's a big, for me, I've had to learn to trust. I didn't as a young person. A lot of people, well, depending on, some people are brought up certain religious environments, and trust can be sort of something that is easier for people to attach to. For others, it isn't. But I think it's a really important piece. And I think there's lots of ways to trust:
Correct.
religion, spirituality,
Well, let's
looking at
stop there for a minute. I think religion, humans humans created religion,
yeah,
and
I agree.
religion has been the source of a lot of pain, and has really become an obstacle for us in having a relationship with something bigger than us, because religion has created this veil that says you're wrong, I'm right. And we're still dealing with this today. As we speak, people are dying because of their faith. And how do you think that makes God feel? Like that? Do you think that's, I mean, if you're just God is love, like it all starts with love. Like that's not love. That's not love at all.
Yeah.
But that's why when people say, well, you're very religious. I'm not actually religious at all. I just try to work on a relationship with God.
Hmm.
Um, and having a relationship is very different than religion.
Yeah. You know, I mean, we could talk for hours and hours and hours about religion. I concur with what you're saying. Anything can be weaponized. I think religion can and does bring a tremendous amount of peace and love and trust to people in their lives. Doesn't matter what religion. It's a way for people to connect to something bigger than themselves, which I think is what we're talking about ultimately. It can also be
Yeah.
used as a way to create separation and violence and everything you just mentioned. But one way or another, it seems like let's just call it spirituality, has been a way that, or connection with God has been a way for you to move through and be with your fear in a healthy way. Is that fair to say?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel free.
Yeah. I love it. So there's this question. Well, how do we learn to do that? How do we learn to trust? Like, I want to feel free, Brian. Like, there's people listening saying, well, I don't feel free. And, that can be a
just,
pretty,
ju- well, I don't want to act as if I don't have any doubt. Doubt is a part of faith.
of course.
But when
Yeah.
I give it up, like, let's talk about give up control. Like, boy, I love control, don't you? But if you've learned anything in life, if we're paying attention, we control nothing, pretty much. And when you accept the fact that, man, we have influence over things, but we don't have control over anything. When you accept that, you become so much freer because you don't get disappointed when things don't go your way. You try to control less because the more you try to control, the less you can control. And the less that happens, the more frustrated you get. I mean, aren't we ultimately just on a journey of feeling peace and being
That's what
free?
we all want. Yeah. We
Yeah,
all crave that and want that. Yeah.
yeah. So there's things we have to accept.
Yeah. Again, just a light conversation for a Friday morning.
I love it, man. It's the only kind of conversation it's worth
I
having.
know.
Otherwise, we should be reading a book or hanging out in nature or riding a bike or right. If we're gonna talk about something, let's talk about something real.
That's why we immediately connected when we first met, I think, because we
Mm-hmm.
could sit around
Mm-hmm.
and be in the wonder of life together. So
Yeah.
let's talk about control, and we can apply this towards your journey with Bernie's. So obviously, literacy, it's your jam. That's your language. I love it. I love that you have your mantra. You've dedicated your life to it. And I think it was a few years ago, you said, I'm not going to be the executive director anymore. And now your title, I believe, is founder and chief advancement officer. At some level, you're not leading, in air quotes, your mission. Is that fair enough to say? At least from a operational standpoint. I don't actually know what it
Oh,
means to
there's
be an
no day.
advancement.
Yeah. So there's right now across all market, there's probably 40 team members total around there. That's going to continue to grow significantly as we grow over the next couple of years. We have a national team now. We just announced a new CEO, which I could not be any more fired up about, Michael Abayu, and I can't wait to work with him. So I want us to succeed, right? That's my ultimate goal. And as I said earlier, I'm a recovering golf professional with an entomology degree. Like I am not, there's difference between leading and managing. There's a few things I'm good at. And I think over time you have to be honest with yourself about what you're predisposed to be good at and what you're not, and stop trying to be good at things you're not predisposed to be good at and try to be great at what you're already predisposed to be good at. But if ultimately your goal is to succeed, it's hard. Trust me, I've struggled with it. I'm at peace with it now, but it took a while to get here. This isn't about you, Brian. This is about the mission, and whatever we need to do to get us there faster, we're going to do. And that does not mean that I'm leading the organization on a daily basis. And you're trying to build an institution, and an institution doesn't rely on any one person. And it never can and it never should. So it's going to happen eventually. And I just knew that we would be better off with a different leader, a lot of different leaders. And that doesn't mean I'm not still impactful, but that requires a lot of self reflection and humility. I'd be lying if I didn't struggle with it all the time. But what are we here to do? We're here to solve this problem. How do we do it the best, the fastest, the most sustainably, the most effective, the most efficient, the most scalable? And that does not include me leading the organization.
Yeah. Well, this kind of ties back to this idea of legacy and eulogies. So many entrepreneurs, I've been in the trap as well. We attach meaning and identity to our work and our missions. And it seems like part of your legacy and mission is realizing that I care for something that is bigger than me. And I'm willing to let the person best equipped to create that impact lead.
Uh-huh.
What a cool part of your eulogy that would be, I would imagine. That's not an easy thing to do.
It's where are your priorities? Is it about you and recognition and attention? Or is it about ultimately solving a goal? And that's why having goals and having a pathway to get there are really important because they're your guideposts. Are we best positioned to get there right now? And we are in a really good position right now to get to where we want to go. And I just love working alongside of our team and the people that invest in us, and just being a part of the team. I mean, that's the way I look at it. It's a big family. We all have different roles. There's captains and there's this and there's that. And we're just all in this together and we're going to lock arms until we get it done.
Yeah. We met not long ago. I fell in love with you immediately. I mean, and I imagine
I
everyone
love
that
you
you meet.
too, Clay. I love you
Yeah.
too.
You're really easy to love. I mean, my gosh, someone
Oh,
that is
oh,
so.
ask my mother that. Ask my wife that. That we should get to know each other better.
Well, yeah.
You're
And
gonna you'll Hey, I'm authentic. I'll that I guess it is what it is.
yeah. Well, I don't think it's by my sense as you walk around the world and you share this mission and you share why you're doing it and you share your commitment to giving and helping something that clearly needs to be helped. It just draws people towards you. I mean, I know a couple of people that know you and they can't say enough good things about you. And if anyone were to hop on your LinkedIn page, I mean, if you ran for mayor of the city of Chicago, you'd win, I think.
Oh, no.
Well, maybe not by based on your you'd win the popularity contest. Let's just say that,
Ah,
okay?
yeah. Well, that's very nice of you, but I don't know about that.
Yeah, well,
And
and
I know
that's
what you're
and
trying
that
to say.
and that's what the way you just reacted to that is probably the reason why people fall in love with you. However, this isn't easy what you do. I mean, I'm prying and trying to get some of the hard stuff out here. I know there's hard stuff behind the mission, and I love how you're willing to surf the waves that come in your life. But what side of Brian don't you let the world see?
Not much. That's a blessing and a curse. I've made a lot of mistakes in my life. A lot. I try to have people just get to know me as soon as they possibly can. It's kind of like when, you know, I've been I'm remarried and blended family, and I'm just feel real blessed about my situation and my children and my stepson and my wife. And I think what happens when you get remarried and you're a little older and you start to, I never really was a dater, so we when we started seeing each other and we both knew that we didn't want to date, we were just going to kind of figure this out. We just put it all out on the table and we put the bad things out on the table first. And the reason we did that is because they're going to find out anyway.
Yeah,
And you might as well just say, here's where I'm awful and here's where I'm pretty good. And talk about being free, when you could just be yourself. And that doesn't mean be yourself in spite of other people, or be yourself and don't give a rat's rear end what other people think of you. It's just being authentic, I think, is really, really important. And I think we'd all be better off if we can be more authentic and show up in a more authentic way. Um, I think that's part of the reason we have a mental health issue in our country, is that we're all just trying to be something we're not. We all have a facade on the way we dress, the way we talk. You know, we're all broken. Like, we all have issues. If we would just accept it and be like, "Hey, man, here's my issues. What's yours?" We might actually be able to get somewhere, because we're all lying to ourselves. Like, it's why on my LinkedIn page, I didn't put a bunch of, you know, words that you see on everybody else's LinkedIn page. Yeah, I played tuba in high school, and yeah, I was an all-state tuba player. And to be honest with you, it's a little embarrassing,
Well, hold on
but
a minute. Hold on
that's
a minute. Hold on a minute. We got new data here. You're an all-state tuba player. Is that what I'm hearing? I knew about the
my
golf.
mom. My mom made me do it. um, I mean,
Okay.
it started
Well,
with
now
it
you.
started with trombone. Um,
Oh,
Yeah, I was an all-state tuba player. I was on Double Dare, and got my ass kicked on Double Dare in front of the whole country. Yeah, but
I'm
it
gonna
is what it
re.
is.
I'm gonna re-record your intro. I just feel it's irresponsible to introduce you without mentioning those things. So trombone, all state, not just the tuba player, folks. All state tuba player. He was on Double Dare. You did have that on your somewhere. I read Double Dare or
Yeah,
something.
it's on
If
it's on
you're,
my LinkedIn profile.
it is on your
Uh,
LinkedIn.
uh,
Okay, yeah, yeah.
I've successfully driven a Zamboni. I did that for a job. Yeah, I mean,
I don't know
there's
if this is going to help or hurt your chances to become mayor. Probably helped. I'm guessing.
I got
You know,
no chance. I got no chance, because politics is all about a facade, man. There's no way. I just want to be your neighbor and your friend right now in the moment. And then when the next person I'm in front of, that I'm present for them. I actually just want to live in the woods, is actually where I want to live eventually. And if you want to get something done, I'm sorry, politics is not the way to do it.
yeah. Well, listen, and I was sort of kidding. It was
Yeah,
a
I
little
know.
joke about
Thank
politics. However,
thank
honestly,
God.
if someone with your views on life and what you just said actually did run, do you know how refreshing that would be to our country? You would be elected with zero qualifications other than humanity and humility, which is what this world needs more than anything.
People gagging right now watching this, but
That's
hello to
okay.
all you gagging out there.
Well, they would have clicked off a long time ago if,
You would think.
yeah. I don't know what to say, Brian. It's just so refreshing knowing you, and it's inspiring knowing you. And I just, yeah, again, part of my interest in I wanted to dissect, how did this guy create this life for himself? And how do we introduce and educate and inspire others with some of the formula? Now, I'm not saying you're perfect. You're a human being like
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you.
No, listen, I mean, we all fuck up. It's part of, and we need to fuck up to learn the
I'm
lessons.
one
That's
big of
part.
them. I'm one big F up after a while, after the last one.
Let me give you, without pumping up your ego or getting too attached to your identity.
You've already
What do you,
done that.
I know.
We're already done on that.
Got it. Well, uh, what don't you give yourself enough credit for? Now you're gagging.
Mm. I think I'm a pretty good father. Um, I think I'm a pretty good father, and there is no perfect in that world, as you know. I think part of that is my parenting partner. The mother of my children is a wonderful mother and an incredible parenting partner, and has allowed me to continue to be a great father, or try to be a great father to my children. And she's an incredible mother. But I had a great father too, and I have a great mother. And you know, I've realized over time how lucky I am, because not everyone can say that. And you talk about responsibility and pressure. Beyond being a great husband, that's pressure. because you are actually creating and influencing the future. Um, and they are so much better than me or than I. Sorry, mom. They're so much better than I, and I learn a lot from them. Um, but can I share one story before we part ways? This
Of
is really
course.
important that as many people need to hear. And I vowed that I would share it with as many people. So as I mentioned earlier, my brother died of ALS, and here's a guy who, I think this is part of my motivation because I've been Bernie's he was 5.5 years older. I've been Bernie's little brother my whole life, and this guy was exceptional. I mean, he did everything right. And then he goes to the University of Virginia and goes there on a partial golf scholarship and ends up on a full ride for basketball. And he was 5'10", and he just did everything right. And in 2012, he was diagnosed with ALS, and which is about as nasty as they come. And 4 years later, he was completely paralyzed. And so for the last 4 years of his life, he could not move anything except a little bit of his head. He was lucky enough he could still talk a little bit, still eat a little bit, but he could not move anything. I was privileged enough to be able to be part of his caretaking team, had to do things for and with my brother that I would have never imagined I would ever have to do with my older brother. And by the end, he was on a ventilator. And because he was on a ventilator in an engaged hospice, he could um, opt in to do a compassionate removal from his ventilator. So in July 19th, 2020, he decided that on July 30th, he would die. Now, that's crazy to think about in general. It's really bizarre. I mean, it's like having a family member on death row for 11 days. Um, we made a list of 60 people that he would call and say goodbye. And so part of that 11 days, we would put the phone on his chest and we would call the person and he would have this conversation and say goodbye. And you could imagine what those conversations were like. And then he'd get off the phone and he'd say, next. And he would go to the next person. Well, July 30th finally came and my mom was in town, my sister, my uncle Jack. And I went up to his house in Gurnee, Illinois, and got him out of bed, gave him his last shower, his last shave, dressed him for the last time, got him downstairs, and taking him out of his house was horrible. So we're going down. We've had about a 15-minute trip to the facility where this was all going to happen. We get him down there, I get him out of bed, and I put him in bed for the last time, and they get him hooked up. And we're all in the room, and we all kind of knew it was time to, okay, we're ready. And he looked at the doc and goes, and we'd all had our deep conversations well before this. We all go up and give him a kiss, and I told him in his ear, "You're my boy," and he responded, "You're my boy." And he looked at the nurse and said, "Thank you for everything you've done for me." Looked at the doctor and says, "Thank you for everything you do." And then he turned to us and he said, "If you need to choose between happy and sad, choose happy." And then he looked at the doctor and said, "I'm ready." And we watched him die right in front of our eyes. Here's the point. Here's a guy that did everything right. Did not deserve this. We don't deserve anything. But he didn't deserve this. He suffered for 8 years. He was completely paralyzed for 4 years. Now, if you want to know what that feels like, go lay in your bed and not move a thing for 10 minutes and see how uncomfortable it feels. But he was like that for 4 years. He's seconds before eternity, which is a really long time. and he has the wherewithal to say, if you need to choose between happy and sad, choose happy. Now, here's the point. Life is but a series of choices, Clay, and this is what brings it all home. It's all about the choices you make. And I've made some bad ones and I've made some really good ones. But it's how you choose to deal with things. How do you choose to deal with fear? How do you choose to deal with pressure? How do you choose to deal with loss? How do you choose to deal with suffering? How do you choose to deal with success? All of that. And that will be the story of your life. All the choices and everything that came after that. And so what I want people to hear is it's up to you. It's not up to other people. It's up to you what you want to do and who you want to be. And if you want to be something different, it starts right now. And that's another thing my brother used to say. Right now means everything. Because if you think about how much time we spend dwelling on the past and worrying about the future, the time is now. And so if you want something different, go do it. There's nothing holding you back and there's nothing to fear. That's the end of my story, Clay.
Thank you
He was
for
a good
sharing that.
dude. He was
Yeah.
he was a great example.
Yeah.
And I got chips on my shoulder from a long, long time. He was a tough older brother, man. He was hard to follow, but he also he made me tough too.
Yeah. Yeah. I just really appreciate you sharing that. It's a beautiful story.
Well, if you could share anything with your audience, it would be that one story because I know we all struggle. Um, and that struggle is real. But no matter how lacking of control we feel, we still have a choice to just keep putting one foot in front of the other. Um, and not every day is going to be easy,
Yeah.
but keep working at it, keep showing up.
Well, I agree. And I love hearing you share all of that through your experiences, using your words. What a gift. You are a gift. I so appreciate you sharing that with me and with whoever's listening to this. Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I appreciate you too. And before we wrap up, I I want you to pitch whatever you want to pitch around literacy. Buku, we haven't even talked about your other company that also supports literacy, as well as how to engage with Bernie's Book Bank.
Yeah, well,
If people,
I'd say thanks for giving me the opportunity to do that. If obviously you Google Bernie's Book Bank, you go to our website, learn what we're doing, what we're planning to do. Love to have you involved, whether you're here in Chicagoland or Milwaukee or Suncoast of Florida. Stay tuned because we're coming to a market to you very soon. But beyond Bernie's Book Bank, if you don't serve somewhere, I would encourage you to find somewhere locally to go and spend at least 1 hour a day serving somebody else. It will change your life in a great way. It'll be worth the time. On the Buku Branded front, Buku Branded is a branded products company. So company swag, school uniforms, trade show giveaways, anything you can put a brand on, which by the way is pretty much anything these days. Um, Buku Branded, beyond elite client service and competitive pricing, our major exclamation point is that we give back 100% of our profits to 4 literacy beneficiaries across the country currently. We put together a team of decades of experience 3 years ago, have already given back $135,000, plan to give away $1 million by 2030, but we really want to be writing checks with 2 commas in them. So if you're someone who needs branded products, we want your business and we want to serve you and we're eager to serve you. But if you work with Buku Branded, you can better leverage your marketing dollars for the good of community, which I think is a win, win, win. So www.bukubranded.com.
yeah, thank you for everything.
Yeah,
Again,
man.
what a gift. I will enjoy or look forward to our next conversation. Maybe people won't be listening to that one. Who knows? Maybe they will. I don't know.
Someone's always listening.
Someone's always listening. That's right. Well, so everyone listening, man, I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. Quite the way to start the day for me. Please follow the show and join me, Clay Stelzer, each week as we stop pretending, we name our fears, and we remember what it takes to stand tall as the giants we already are. When leaders get real and they share their true colors and they're willing to be seen in the world, they make it safe for others to do the same. So please subscribe, follow wherever you listen to podcasts, share with other leaders, leave a review if you're inclined, and help more people feel what's possible when fear doesn't run the show. Thanks so much.